And what can get in the way of creating positive relationships, positive team relationships? As introverts, we're more sensitive to energy when we are outside of our house, to be honest. When we are outside of that personal time, when we spend our time in meetings with other people, that can feel draining. Or we need to take time, or depending on the person, because at times, like for us, the conversations are so engaging because we're on a similar energy level. But usually in the workspace environment, the noise, light, temperature, depending on our level of sensitivity, that can cause us to drain our energy very, very fast. Then the pace of work, when it's like too fast, everything coming to us at the same time, again, that can get in our way. Distractions, like I had to switch off my notification. I've done this for many years now. When I choose to see a message, I will open my phone and search for it if I need to. So the phone will not detect control my life, exactly. Dictate my life. Unclear communication, that can also drain us or stand in the way of a positive team relationship. And communication, it's definitely a skill. We are not born with it, especially us as introverts. So we kind of need to work a bit harder to learn how to communicate, but we have the strengths of being deep listeners. So, and having that broad, deep perspective as well. So that's where we can learn on how to improve our communication, to communicate from our strengths. And the level of self-awareness, self-confidence, this can get in our ways. If we're not self-aware of our strengths, of our energy levels, of our boundaries, or we feel we lack self-confidence, that will impact the relationships and how we present ourselves in the world. And if there is a sense of disconnection, if there is no, and in the beginning of our lives, until we get to that point to stay strong in who we are, to make peace with who we are, that can drain us and have that impact in our relationships. And again, with values, if we know our values, but the workplace is not aligned with our values, that can drain us even further. And what's at stake, right? We have so many points so far in our discussion, but what is actually at stake if we're not leveraging our introvert strengths? Lost promotion opportunities, your perspective not being heard, states of fight, flight, freeze, that can lead to anxiety, fear, depression, feeling isolated, a sense of disengagement, a lack of motivation. We might delay, we might procrastinate, we might judge ourselves for procrastinating. Project delays, absenteeism, resignation. We might resign from our jobs because if we don't know our strengths, if we haven't leveraged our strengths at work, others might not take them into considerations. So of course we feel this is not the place for us, so we're out. And we can lose hope of what am I here to do? What's my role? What's my purpose? So everything's like this can be dramatic, but this is what's at stake if we're really ready to speak truth of what can happen if we're not taking action of first identifying our strengths, then healing, then communicating the strengths, finding ways to leverage those strengths to take advantage in the end of the day, because as introverts, we bring so much at our workplace. Is there anything else, Nicole, that you'd like to add here?
Well, what's at stake in not knowing our strength is that you've put anxiety there, and anxiety often goes hand in hand with depression.
Mm.
So when you don't know your strengths and you don't know how to bring them to the table, or you keep putting yourself in environments that are not good for you, this will build. So knowing your strengths gives you empowerment, actually, and knowing where your energy is flowing gives you empowerment. So this is all part of knowledge of self. I've spoken about this in the other workshop, and I cannot stop saying it because I find it so true, that knowledge is power, but knowledge of self is empowerment. And this is really important. And the only person that can actually do this for you is you. You can ask guidance of a therapist. This is obviously my job. So I know myself, I went through anxiety that led to burnout, where physically my body didn't want me to be there anymore. And what was happening, I was just pushing myself, and I had to shed that skin. I had to shed that shell and withdraw and take that time. And actually, what happened in that time is I reinvented myself. And this can be true for anyone, because this is the truth that Anna keeps talking about, speaking your truth. It definitely comes from healing. And I can't state it enough that the healing is really, it is very, it's an empowerment, because you're taking control of you. So when you are no longer remote controlled by all these external things, and you know where to go, where to place your strengths, how to communicate them from a grounded place, I mean, this is all empowerment. And not doing that just puts your whole life at stake.
Agreed. So what do we actually do with this information? How do we put it into practice? Because that's the important part. You have the knowledge, you have the understanding, but what do you do with it?